The wind howled like a banshee as we huddled in the skeleton of an old miner shack, our breaths misting the frigid air. I clutched my arms around myself, feeling the cold seep into my bones despite the layers of thermal clothing. The icy fingers of fear crept along my spine, not just from the cold, but from the unnerving knowledge that the Wendigo prowled out there, somewhere in the swirling snow. "Damn it, James, we can't just sit here and wait for that thing to pick us off." Tom's voice cut through the tense silence, sharp as the icicles dangling from the splintered roof beams. "Quiet, Tom," I hissed, casting a wary glance towards the windows, their glass long shattered, leaving only gaping maws that allowed the relentless wind to invade our sanctuary. "We need to conserve energy and stay warm. Our best chance is to remain calm and think this through."
"Think it through?"
Sam scoffed, her dark eyes flashing with frustration.
"While you think, whatever is out there is getting closer."
And she gestured to the empty snow-choked streets of the abandoned mining town, each building a tombstone in this graveyard of human endeavor.
Sam's right,"
Izzy chimed in, her voice trembling, and her youthful optimism had been replaced by raw fear. It pained me to see her so vulnerable.
"We need a plan, not just hope."
"Hope might be all we have left," Nathan murmured from the shadows where he sat apart from the group, cradling a worn copy of a geological survey like a talisman against the unknown. "Hope doesn't fortify doors, Nathan," Ollie grunted, already moving to barricade the entrance with whatever debris he could find. Rotten planks, rusted mining equipment, and remnants of lives long forgotten. I watched the team fracture before my eyes, each person retreating into their own brand of despair. My heart pounded a frenzied rhythm, echoing the urgency of our situation. We were a group of brilliant minds, experts in our respective fields, yet here we were, outmatched by the primal horror of the Wendigo, a creature that defied explanation, a monster born from the very essence of hunger and cold. "Listen to me, everyone," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. "We can't let fear divide us. We faced challenges before, but none like this. Together we got a chance. Alone, we're as good as dead." They looked at me then, their expressions a tapestry of doubt and desperation. But beneath it all, I saw the flicker of resolve. We were survivors, each and every one of us. Whether facing the unrelenting forces of nature or staring down the stuff of nightmares, we had always found a way. "James is right," Tom conceded, though the set of his jaw told me his pride took a hit. "Let's figure this out together."
"Agreed,"
Sam said, nodding Curly.
"But let's make it quick. That thing out there isn't going to wait for us to reach a consensus."
"Okay," I said, taking a deep breath that did little to quell the unease coiling in my gut. "First we secure this place as best we can, and then we'll come up with an exit strategy. We're not going down without a fight." As he sprang into action, boarding up windows and sealing cracks, I couldn't shake the nagging thought that the Wendigo was more than just a predator. It was the embodiment of this harsh, unforgiving land, a symbol of the struggle between humanity and the dark, insatiable void. And in that moment, the true horror struck me. Even as we fought for survival, we were being hunted by something far older, more terrifying than any storm or beast of prey, something that wouldn't rest until it had consumed us all. A howl split the silence, slicing through the wind's mournful cries like a knife. We froze, the warmth we had fought to kindle now a forgotten ember in the face of such primal terror. Our breaths hung suspended, crystalline puffs that seemed too loud in the newfound hush following that dreadful sound. Nobody spoke, nobody moved, but our wide-eyed stares spoke volumes. The feral call had confirmed what we had secretly dreaded. We were not alone in this ghost town. "Inside now," Ollie's voice cut through the paralyzing fear with the sharpness of a commander rallying his troops. His deep-set eyes darted around, seeking out shadows that might be harboring our unseen hunter. Sam was the first to react, her survival instincts kicking in as she ushered us towards the nearest dilapidated building.
"Split up,"
she whispered, her voice barely audible over the mounting gale.
"Look for tracks. Any sign it left behind."
I found myself nodding, the researcher part of my brain clicking into gear, despite the dread and pulling in my stomach. I glanced at Dr. Montgomery, who met my gaze with a grim determination. There was no question about it. We had to find a safe place to hide before the Wendigo did more than just announce its presence. "Tom, Izzy, you're with me." Dr. Montgomery's command was calm, but carried an undercurrent of urgency. The young biologist nodded, her usual vibrancy dimmed by the gravity of our situation. Tom, still wearing traces of his earlier bravado, stepped up with a determined clench to his jaw.
"Ollie, Nathan, you're with me,"
Sam ordered. She caught my eye for a fraction of a second, the silent promise that we'd watch each other's backs. And then she was leading her group away, their footsteps crunching against the snow. Left in the biting cold, I felt the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. As the leader of my small faction, I steered us toward the shadowy interior of what once must have been the town's general store. "Quick and quiet," I instructed, my voice trembling despite my efforts. Inside, darkness was oppressive, the only light coming from the gaps in the boarded-up windows. "Check the back," I told Tom, who nodded and disappeared behind a row of empty shelves, and his flashlight a small beacon in the gloom. "Anything?" I called softly after a moment, my own flashlight sweeping across the dusty floor, looking for evidence of intrusion or escape. "Nothing here," Tom replied, re-emerging with a shake of his head. "It's clear." "Then we should secure this spot," I decided, feeling the walls for sturdiness. They would have to do. But even as I checked for weaknesses in our temporary refuge, the echo of that haunting cry lingered in my ears, a stark reminder that the Wendigo was out there somewhere, and we were in its domain now. A crimson streak in the snow snagged my gaze, a stark contrast to the surrounding whiteness. My breath hitched, frost clinging to my scarf as I crouched beside the gruesome trail. "Over here," I hissed, signaling the others with a mix of urgency and dread. Tom and Izzy joined me at the crimson-stained snow, their faces pale in the dim light. The trail led away from the general store, disappearing into the howling wilderness beyond. I could feel the tension mounting in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the danger we faced.
"Is that blood?"
Izzy's voice quivered, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and fascination. "It looks fresh," Tom observed, his breath forming misty clouds in the frigid air. "We have to follow it." A chill crept down my spine as I realized what this meant. The Wendigo is not just a distant threat. It's here among us. Its hunger manifests in this macabre path it left behind. "We stick together," I ordered, my own voice betraying a flicker of uncertainty. "Stay close and stay quiet." With grim determination, we set off in the unforgiving landscape, where shadows danced like sinister specters in the twisting light of the fading day. Each step left a mark in the pristine snow, a reminder of our presence in this desolate place. The trail of blood led us deeper into the heart of the abandoned town, past crumbling buildings and broken remnants of lives, interrupted by some ancient horror. As we followed the ominous path, a sense of unease settled over us like a suffocating blanket. The wind whispered through skeletal branches, carrying with it a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into our very souls. I could see the fear reflected in my companion's eyes, the silent understanding passing between us that we were treading on ground tainted by something far more sinister than we had ever encountered. The trail eventually led us to an old mine shaft, its yawning maw gaping like the hungry jaws of some forgotten beast. The air around it seemed to grow colder, the very atmosphere thick with dread. I exchanged a wary glance with Tom and Izzy, and their expressions mirroring my own apprehension. Whatever lurked within that mind was a mystery we were compelled to unravel, even as every instinct screamed at us to turn back and flee.
We can't go in there.
Izzy's voice quavered, her hands trembling at her sides.
We have to.
Tom insisted, his tone firm despite the fear lurking in his eyes.
If we want to have any chance of surviving this, we need to confront whatever's causing this chaos head on.
I nodded, and my jaw set in grim determination. There was no turning back now. With a deep breath to steady my nerves, I took the lead, venturing into the darkness of the mine shaft. The air grew thick with dust, the sound of our footsteps echoing off the walls like ominous whispers. As we delved deeper into the belly of the mine, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The walls seemed to close in around us, suffocating and oppressive. Every shadow held untold horrors that threatened to spring forth at any moment, shrouded in the darkness that enveloped us like a suffocating cloak. The stench of decay hung heavy in the air, mingling with the metallic tang of blood that clung to the walls in streaked patterns, a macabre mural of terror. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat a thunderous reminder of our vulnerability in this desolate place. I could feel the weight of gazes watching us from unseen corners, a palpable malevolence that made my skin crawl. A soft whimper from Izzy broke the silence, her grip on my arm tightening as we pressed forward into the unknown depths of the mine. Tom's breath hitched beside me, his flashlight trembling slightly in his hand as we navigated the labyrinthine tunnels that seemed to twist and turn endlessly. And then, a sudden shift in the shadows ahead caught my attention. A subtle movement, fleeting yet unmistakable. I raised a hand to halt our progress, my heart hammering in my chest as I strained to see through the murky darkness. The faint sound of shuffling echoed off the walls, sending a shiver down my spine.
Did you see that?
Tom's voice was barely above a whisper, his eyes wide with apprehension. Before I could respond, a low growl reverberated through the tunnel, chilling me to the core. The air seemed to thicken with an otherworldly presence, suffused with a primal malice that prickled at my skin. I gestured for silence, my grip tightening on the flashlight as I slowly advanced, every nerve on edge. As we crept closer, the shadows seemed to coalesce into a grotesque figure hunched over in the darkness. Antlers twisted like gnarled branches adorned its skeletal frame, and the stench of decay grew overpowering. The Wendigo stood before us, its eyes gleaming with a hunger that sent a bolt of terror through my veins. Time seemed to slow as we beheld the grotesque form before us, a monstrous fusion of man and beast that defied all reason and sanity. Its gaunt limbs were twisted with sinew and bone, its elongated fingers tipped with razor-sharp claws that gleamed malevolently in the dim light. A guttural growl reverberated from the creature's chest, sending a shockwave of fear through our small group. I could feel my companions trembling beside me, their breaths coming in shallow gasps as we stood frozen in terror. The Wendigo's eyes bore into mine, the chilling intelligence lurking within their depths. It sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring as it seemed to assess us with a more predatory gaze. I knew then that we were nothing more than prey to this ancient evil, mere morsels to sate its insatiable hunger. With a sudden surge of movement, the Wendigo lunged forward, its movement swift and unnatural as it closed the distance between us in a blur of motion. Instinct took over as I raised my flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness to reveal the creature's twisted form in stark detail. Its pallid skin was stretched taut over its skeletal frame, veins pulsing beneath the surface like writhing serpents. Without hesitation, Tom sprang into action, brandishing a makeshift weapon he had fashioned from a broken piece of wood. The sound of his defiant shout echoed off the walls of the tunnel as he thrust the crude spear toward the Wendigo, aiming for its heart with unwavering determination. The Wendigo's antlered head jerked to the side with an eerie grace, narrowly avoiding Tom's strike. In retaliation, it lashed out with a clawed hand, swiping at him with blinding speed. Tom stumbled backward, a gash appearing on his forearm where the creature's claws had grazed his flesh. A surge of adrenaline coursed through me, yet I stood, frozen in shock as our group, amid panicked screams. I watched in horror as the creature turned and finished what it had started, devouring Tom alive, his cries reverberating in a sickening chorus of death. I finally broke and ran headlong into the darkness, the sounds of the others fading behind me. Yet I can hear the occasional scream, some further, some closer. The beast is finishing us off. I don't know if my story will make it out of here, but I don't think it will.